Thank you very much for attending the public hearing for Q&A Property LLC rezoning request on June 16th, 2021 at 6 p.m. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Ms. Singer, we have proof of publication for tonight's meeting.
Advertised properly.
Okay, it was advertised for this evening, the 16th.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Before we move into the hearing, I'll let, I almost called you Mr. Sweat, Mr. Crooney, Attorney Crooney, open the meeting and discuss why we're here and the request of Q&A to rezone a piece of property in Union Township.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. This is the date and time scheduled for a continued rezoning hearing submitted on behalf of Q&A Zoning Property LLC. It was submitted by Victor Wetzel and Associates. The initial hearing was scheduled and held May 5th, 2021. At that hearing, the Township Zoning Officer as well as the Township Engineer testified that there was some activity ongoing at the property and that they had become aware of it and had looked into it and were conducting inquiries into the property. They stated at that time that due to that information coming to their light, they were unable to confirm or deny the current status of that activity that was going on at the property for the May 5th hearing. The hearing continued on, testimony was given, testimony was received by the applicant. There were members of the audience also testified at that time, gave comment. However, due to the recommendations of the Township Zoning Officer and the engineer, the hearing was continued until a further date and time. That's today's hearing. So the hearing was continued in order to get those questions potentially resolved and see if and how they may impact the board's considerations of the rezoning request in front of it. With that being said, just a couple housekeeping items leading up to today's hearing. The proof of publication that was just referred to and confirmed by the Council Secretary, it did run in the Observer Reporter, a newspaper of general circulation in Union Township on May 26th and June 2nd. I would enter into the record hearing exhibit W, which would be the advertisement. I also received from Township Zoning Officer Jared D'Amico the following documentation. I have multiple pictures here with the board that has been provided to me that he indicated and shows the property being posted in multiple locations as required, with the notice also attached indicating the date and time of the continued hearing. Saying the June 16th, 6 p.m., which is today's date and time. This was submitted from Township Zoning Officer and will be admitted into the record as hearing exhibit X. Zoning Officer also provided me with a list of property owners addresses. They're located within 300 feet of the proposed property. This list is obviously very lengthy as it was the last time. Based on the information he provided me, this is his indication they made a good faith effort to notify any resident within 300 feet of the subject property. I would enter this exhibit into the record as XYZ. No, Y, sorry. Just Y, okay. The written notices would be Y. I also have what's been provided to me another notice that has an incorrect date and time listed as Wednesday, June 9th, 2021 at 6 p.m. I guess the township, and there have been some calls and confusion. I just checked with the township secretary as well as the zoning officer and indicated that this notice that has the incorrect date and time was not sent on behalf of the township. The documentation he sent to me does indicate the correct date and time. I would just mark this as hearing exhibit Z so that there's no confusion if people contact and say they weren't given the proper time. That was hearing exhibit Z. A couple other items of correspondence that were received between last hearing and today's hearing. One of the items was a email dated June 13th from a Tom Sanford. Mr. located at 100 Florence Lane. I checked with the zoning officer, indicated that that is one of the properties located within the 300 feet, it appears. He wants to note that his disapproval of the rezoning property occurred in front of the board today. He notes that among other things, this email will be made a part of the record as, I guess that'll be hearing exhibit AA. And this will also be provided to the board so that they can read if they have not been provided a copy of it. I believe it was sent to the township secretary, but it will be provided to the board to consider prior to making any decision. Another item of correspondence that we received outside of this, I received an email, actually the township received an email and the gentleman provided on behalf of a Brian Spiegel. He is also a resident located, I believe, at 6263 Brownsville Road Extension. Mr. Spiegel was at the last hearing, the record will note, and spoke extensively. He wants to reiterate his disapproval of the potential rezoning of the property to a commercial activity. So that will be hearing exhibit DB. Once again, that will be made available to the board prior to any decisions or votes being made. And then the last piece of correspondence received outside of the May hearing is a letter dated June 8th, 2021. It was sent by Stephen Victor on behalf of the applicant. Mr. Victor sent this to the township zoning officer and indicated that they were at the time needing, in order to give them proper time to respond to Sean O'Dell's letter. Sean O'Dell is the township engineer that spoke at the last hearing. To respond to Sean O'Dell's letter, they were requesting that the public hearing continued for today, June 16th, be continued once again until July 14th, 2021. They were requesting the public hearing be opened and then immediately continued until July 14th, 2021. That will be hearing exhibit, I guess that's double CC. That brings us to today's hearing. As we can see, if anyone is the applicant here, okay, as indicated by their letter, they did not anticipate, they do have the right to request a continuance. That was the main reason for continuing this hearing, to make sure that they were able to address all the concerns or questions of the township, and for the board to have that information before potentially voting to see if and how that could potentially impact this request in front of the board currently. So at this time, there will not be any testimony related to the applicant at this time. However, this was properly advertised, notice was given, so my recommendation to the board is that if you want to hear testimony from anyone that is here and did not have an opportunity to speak at the last hearing, if they would like to speak, they can do so today. The issue with not having the applicant here is you want to make sure they have an opportunity to respond. You know, the board does not get into a back and forth with the audience. You just take in the comments or the testimony provided, but the applicant does have a right and an opportunity to respond. My recommendation would be that if anyone wants to speak today, absent the applicant, they're here, not sure if they'll be able to be at the next one, whenever the next hearing is scheduled for. They can do so. We would then have to request today's hearing transcript from the stenographer. That's provided to the applicant to give them sufficient time to review the comments made for or against the request, and that way they would be able to respond if they choose to do so at the next hearing, among other, whatever else they have to address, anything else they feel they need to put in the record. So if the board is comfortable with that, my recommendation would be to open it up. At this time, we have nothing, well, let me state, I have nothing to add. I will just check with the township zoning or the township engineer, Jamie Harshman's here. Do you have anything at this time to add to the record related to some of the outstanding items in Sean's correspondence with the applicant?
We have nothing to add at this time, thank you.
So having nothing to add from a township standpoint, the applicant not being here, my recommendation would be that we would turn it over to anyone that didn't have an opportunity to speak at the last hearing. We will open that up. If anyone wants to speak to that, we can go and do so. But before we do that, I would request that you, if you intend to speak, stand, raise, and get sworn in, because we will be under oath with the chair. So if there's anyone that does want to speak, knowing what they have right now, and would like to state for, against, indifferent, this would be the time to do so.
Anyone that wants to testify, raise your right hand, please. Solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Anyone that speaks so that everyone can hear, I would ask that you go to the microphone at the podium.
Alrighty, the first resident, Greg, and he messing this up, Rouge,
Rollins?
Woolwich?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Am I allowed to defer for,
Absolutely.
I wanna give opportunity for people that weren't here, that wanted to speak last time, I was not here.
Absolutely.
Give them the opportunity first.
Okay, Dana Robinson?
I did speak last time, but I had something to add.
Sure.
I'm still against this rezoning, I just wanna make sure that's clear. One other thing, we don't have a police force other than Monongahela making a pass now and again. You're putting 6 pads, supposedly, of office places, a great place to loiter after hours. My property borders that. You got kids on both sides growing up. This day and age, there's way too much happening that this is going to add to. So I just wanted to bring that up. Thank you.
Okay, Cheryl Robinson?
Cheryl Robinson, 6265 Brownsville Road Extension. I just wanted to reiterate my objection to the rezoning of the Q&A properties, and also note that the rezoning of Union Township properties, which was heard without an audience, Union Gardens, I'm sorry, I was not notified and I should have been notified, and I just want that in the record.
Thank you. Betsy Schotel?
I'm gonna pass for right now, I might speak later.
Okay. Linda Evans Bourne?
Linda Evans Bourne, 22 Parkview Drive. I wanted to object to this rezoning. My objection is based on the properties that abut it. They were supposed to be rezoned, we're told was rezoned last year. There's no record that there was a public hearing. There's no transcript. I did a right to know request with another resident. And there was some of the things that were given to us. Well, compared to what has been submitted at this hearing, there's nothing, basically, that shows that there was a public hearing. And I wanted to ask, since there was not a stenographer, Mr. Crooney, did you swear the witnesses in at the public hearing that happened on May 27th for DCS acquisitions and for Union Gardens?
It's not a give and take. I'll take the comment. It's not a give and take.
All right. Also, I was given a list of people that were supposedly sent letters for the rezoning of DCS acquisitions in Union Gardens. There was no proof that it was sent registered mail. All it was a piece of paper that was emailed to me with names on it. I could do that. Anybody here could do that. There was no receipt for the registered mail, which I know that those are kept. And also, I took some of those names off of that list and I called them, because I know them. And other people know them. They were not sent letters. And I want that as a matter of record. Those people were not sent letters. I do not believe that a public hearing happened. And therefore, I believe this would be spot zoning. And I think before this continues, what happened last year needs to be rectified. Thank you.
All right, just to keep the record clear, because we're here for Q&A zoning. The objection or the concern raised by Ms. Evans Bourne and others related to a potential spot zoning. To keep this record clear, I would just ask if there are others that wish to speak on that you raise your hand we note it for the record, that we keep that clear. The objection has been debated multiple times, it's of record already, that you believe that that was invalid, and therefore any rezoning here would be considered spot zoning. That is clearly in the record already. To keep this strictly for Q&A, their request, the concerns related to spot zoning are of record in front of the board, in front of this, in front of the township. So, just so that we keep this record clear, in case it has to go up on appeal, I'm asking that the testimony be related to your concerns related to this matter. So anyone else that shares the same concerns related to spot zoning, I would just ask by show of hands that the audience raise their hands for that for the record. Okay, we'll note for the record, 10 individuals by my count, second what Ms. Evans Horn noted as far as spot zoning. All right, thank you.
Lori Canavy?
Well, I think I'm going to hold off because, I have questions that I would like to have answered as opposed to just being looked at.
Michelle Dupree?
Michelle Dupree, 6178 State Route 88. I too have questions. I'm going to hold it back most of my comments because I'd rather talk to the applicant and get answers rather than just make comment. But I do want to know, I didn't hear, what was the date that Mr. Victor sent you a letter asking for a
He said it was dated June 8th. I don't know when Jared received it. June 8th is when it was dated.
Okay, so, and today's the 16th?
Correct.
So a week ago, you knew that you weren't having this hearing?
We're having it.
Okay,
Thank you.
but you're obviously are continuing the hearing, right? But you knew it couldn't be completed. So who pays for this hearing? So he asked for it to be rescheduled, but you still have it. So does the applicant pay for the hearing today?
Again, it's not a back and forth, but just for
I
the
just-
record, the township code requires that the applicant pay for any reasonable costs incurred beyond the initial fee. So this was their request, those costs will be on the applicant.
Okay. The other the other questions I had was actually for the applicant.
Thank you.
Brian Wong?
Brian Walmy, 6249 Brownsville Road Extension. There were some things that I wanted to say and get answer to, but I'll leave that for next time. As far as the notice is at the end, it's basically at the end of my driveway. The bigger notice that was put up was a piece of white, some type of material between two poles that within 2 days of the rain, of it being put up, it was basically laying on the ground. So if you're gonna put something up, something should be put up that could handle the weather. You couldn't read it after 2 days. It was broken in half. The smaller one is still intact. The other one, 2 days after it was put up, was destroyed. So,
You're talking about the posted notice?
yeah, I'm talking about the white one with the two poles.
Okay.
Within 2 days of that being put up, it was destroyed. So, we get a lot of wind up there, so that has to be taken into consideration, as far as rain too. If it's supposed to be noted, and, we wanna get this hearing done. If this small things keep going on, it's just gonna continue this on, so, okay. Thank you.
Karen Arlette?
Hi, I live at 6215 Brownsville Road Extension, so I'm pretty close to where this rezoning is gonna happen. I have several concerns
Could you
about.
speak up a little bit?
I have several concerns about rezoning this property. One is, I don't want it to turn into a dumping ground for grass or brush or whatever the landscaping company clears out. I'm concerned about that. I'm concerned about where the entrance is to this location. It's about 2.5 doors up from my house. That is a very, very dangerous spot on that road. It's coming off of a blind bend, and those trucks that come down there are going 60 miles an hour. Then you have school buses that are coming up and down that road. So I have a lot of concerns about them pulling their equipment with their tractors in and out of that property properties in the area, or heaven forbid, to people or bikers that fly up and down those roads. So those are a couple of my main concerns. I don't wanna just not let them have a business, but it's just, I don't think it's a good area to rezone. So those are my big concerns.
Thank you. Anybody else that wanted to take a pass?
Kelly Health, 18 Parkview. I'm here just to register against the rezoning of the Q&A property due to the transient nature of it. The businesses might be changing hands, the trucks coming in and out, the safety of the children, but also the safety of the elderly, as a lot of elderly people live in that neighborhood. So I'm here to say that I'm against the rezoning of the Q&A property.
Yes.
My name is Greg Rolich, 6081 Brownsville Extension, Road Extension. I'm not quite 300 yards from the property. However, I am a general contractor, I'm a construction manager and a developer. I've sat where you guys are sitting now on both sides of the fence, both defending developments in many municipalities around here. I do want to go on record that I'm against the rezoning. Attorney there spoke a couple minutes ago about the fact that it's not a give and take. My point about that is that I'm not expecting an answer now, but I don't know why we're continuing the hearings if there's objections that have already been made about the fact that the property may or may not have been rezoned. The original property may or may not have been rezoned properly the first time around. So in the battles that I've been in the past, when those objections come through, these proceedings here don't happen until that's been rectified. Again, I know I'm not gonna get answers on that, just some other concerns to echo what some of the other people said. You know, the gentleman made the point about the police. Brownsville Road Extension already is a drag strip for cars that are coming out of the car shows every Friday nights and the bike shows every Friday nights up at the beach house. So we have a lot of kids on the street, we have a lot of elderly people on the street, we have schools, things like that. Also, I want to just express my concerns about whether or not the existing utilities, whether the existing infrastructure, when you're talking about getting rid of woodlands and wetlands and things like that, you're driving wildlife into people's neighborhoods, you're inviting water, surface water, things like that. I'm sure that's all been taken care of through traffic studies and engineering and things like that, but all valid concerns that I think people need to be aware of. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else who took a pass? Okay, before we move on, a couple of comments, if I may, to the board and to the professionals. First off, there's a lot of talk in this room and for the past many hearings on this Q&A property about spot zoning. This board has asked for a legal opinion from our solicitor, and we believe strongly there's been no spot zoning. Everything was done correctly. We have all of our proof. We have sent letters. We have proof of the letters that were sent on every hearing, and the public will get a legal opinion on that. But I'm glad that people who are questioning that went on record tonight and in the prior hearings, because we will answer you. The solicitor specifically wants to have this record clear for the applicant. And that was another thing that I would like to mention. This isn't the board's idea to rezone this piece of property. This was born by somebody who owns a piece of property in Union Township and came here, followed the complete application process, and is requesting this hearing. By law, through the municipality's planning code and all the laws that these gentlemen work on, we have to follow proper, I'm sorry, ma'am, could you please wait till I'm done? I definitely want to hear you, but allow me please to speak. We have to follow all the proper procedures because by law, the applicant who owns the piece of property violate his rights in this hearing, we will have to answer to that. So we're definitely following the law by opening this up to all of you. We all appreciate your comments. We work for you, we wanna hear them. And, you know, anybody who wants to come up here, even if you spoke before, please come up and enter your testimony. We're listening. Again, the spot zoning that people keep reiterating will be answered. You will get your answer. Because I don't like to be told that I'm a liar and that I'm doing something illegal or lawful. And that happens a lot on social media. And we don't answer on social media because that's not what we do and it's not proper. So we're here, we're glad you're here because we can tell you the truth, sitting up here. And one of the items that we entered into exhibits today, Michael, may I have the false advertisement that was taped to people's doors that did not come from Union Township? If you're all familiar with this exhibit, we entered it into the record, it's Exhibit Z. You may all be familiar with this because we understand it was thumb banded to everybody's residence up in and around the area of Brownsville Road. This did not come from anybody
No,
here.
it didn't, it came from me.
That was
Okay?
all up and down.
It came from me, and I
Ma'am, I'm
apologize to
sorry.
everyone, I put the wrong date on it. It
Okay.
was
I'm sorry. This
proofread,
lady, this is
and it was
a public
mistake.
hearing that's being recorded under oath by a stenographer. Please don't yell out. I do wanna hear you, but please wait your turn, let me finish. So again, this was put on Facebook and it gave a lot of people the impression that it was sent by Union Township. I know this because I got many calls. I know many of my fellow supervisors received calls all week yelling. People yell at us and they say, you did A, B, and C, you didn't notify correctly, and you spot zoned. All of this will come answers to all of you. The truth will be coming out very shortly. We have to keep this record clean for the applicant because it's his right to be heard as well as the property owner. So, just going back on record, this was not borne by the township, and I'll let the person who did offer it and send it out speak to that when she feels like it. Something else, regarding the continuing hearing, Mr. Rowledge, I agree with you, thank you for appreciating both sides of this position that we're on, if you've sat in this side before. And I understand your concerns. As far as the continuance, the applicant let us know, but by law, we had to hold this meeting. Yes, he asked for a continuance, we couldn't do anything, we still had to come here, allow you all to come and speak, and hear you. That's what we're here to do. We paid the money for the advertisement, we paid for the stenographer, we're paying this gentleman and all the staff sitting here. You are all paying, we're all paying as taxpayers. So that's why we're here. We didn't want to cancel it, we couldn't have by law. And, okay, RD2, and this is the last thing I wanted to go on record with. Again, I want to reiterate that this board is not asking to rezone this property. There's someone that wants to do business here, he owns the property, and he came to us. It wasn't born out of our minds to rezone this. It's currently zoned as RD2. And I just wanted to let everyone know that there are a litany of things that could be developed under RD2 as well. And I just wanted to make you all aware of that. I mean, we're taking this very seriously. I haven't seen a public hearing with this much participation in many years, and I'm very happy you're here, and we are listening. And that's all I wanted to say. Okay, Ms. Carnegie, would you like to go on record now?
Yes, I do want to say that,
I'm sorry, would you be able to approach the podium and list your name and address, please, for the record?
And were you sworn in?
Thank you.
Lori Canady, 6088 Brownsville Road Extension. Yes, I was the one that typed up the letter notifying people to come to the hearing, because we do know that there are not enough people that know about this. And I apologize, I did get the wrong date, I did have it proofread, and somehow, we missed that piece of it. For July 13th, I will make sure that the next letter goes out with the correct, date on it. We did make corrections on Facebook, and it did go around to many people. I'm not sure why, well, other than calling the township, because they knew nothing about it and they were not happy that this rezoning is happening. but I don't see how they could basically, claim that you put out that letter, because the way that's written, it doesn't say anything that the township wrote that letter. Debating on whether to go ahead and talk about what I had planned or not, because this piece of property is being rezoned because of the rest of the property that we still don't believe was done quite correctly. And that only became C2 because it butts up against the Dossie property, and they were using that to claim that that's no longer spot zoning, we can use that. Coincidentally, the Dossie property gets rezoned tomorrow night for residential for the PRD. So it's very convenient how this all played out, to hurry up and do your little mud overlay and put in a special development, which is landfills, dumps, and I would assume fracking, water, anything that would be in an SD. If it falls under landfills and fly ash dumps, most likely fracking ponds would be allowed also. Now, we have no idea, we have no record, we have not received anything through our right to know as to what the Union Gardens wants to do with their rezoning or the DCS. But the same person or group, Victor Wetzel Associates, has taken all three of these people and is developing all of that property as together. So, what's going on down the road, I don't know, but it will still save my questions and the full, my full research later.
And again, just to keep the record clear, that is noted for the record, and as related to the Scarmazy Highland Village rezoning, that hearing was already held and approved in 2019. It was subject to a subdivision getting approved. The subdivision just finally got approved. The board has to adopt the ordinance. So the hearing was already held, it was already approved. This is just a formality. Tomorrow night's hearing, it's completely unrelated, and this started in 2019. Keep the record clear, you can ask those questions at tomorrow's hearing.
Tomorrow's hearing is Scarmazy Highlands Village. It's an R2 zoning, it's the new plan of homes going up across from Mineral Beach off of Route 88. That's what Ms. Canady is referring to.
Right.
It was rezoned from C2 to R2, and the homes are being built currently. Okay, anything else? Absolutely.
I
Ms.
just have one request.
Excuse me, Ms. Robinson, you're
I
raising
just
your
want
hand first.
a question about the date for the
Yes,
next
could you-
hearing.
Could you please, yes.
I had a question about the
Your
date
name,
for the.
please? Cheryl Robinson, 6265 Brownsville Road Extension. Mr. Crooney, I believe, said that it was July 14th, and on this.
No, that was their request. That was the request.
Okay, that was just their request,
That
and
was
this
the
is the
request.
actual date. The
I
13th?
don't know what you're referring to.
She's referring to item number 5 on the agenda. This was the request. Was the request
That's
on
gonna be for the
13th.
board to
Yes.
decide.
So this isn't in stone yet? this
No,
is
that
yet to-
board, they requested that, so it's on the agenda for us to consider.
Even though you had the 13th on here.
Did you say the 14th in your testimony?
He did.
The letter asked for the 14th.
Okay,
That is the date of the township's regular meeting.
okay.
It's my understanding that the board does not like to have hearings the same date as a hearing.
So you,
So
you're
we,
suggesting
based
the
off of
13th.
Gary's availability, my availability, our office availability, due to other township hearings and meetings, we suggested to the township secretary the Tuesday prior. They asked for the
So
14th.
Mrs. Robinson, the applicant requested the 14th. So the solicitor, when preparing this today, they're suggesting to the board the 13th.
Okay, so we
And
still
so-
don't know exactly which date.
Well,
board has
we
to
get
set
the
that.
vote on it.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Sure. Thank you. Anybody else, please?
One really quick thing.
Your name again, please?
Linda Evans-Bourne, 22 Parkview Drive. I would ask the board to consider moving the time to 6 p.m. It's very hard for people to get here, they work. 5:30 is much too early to hold the public hearing. I would request you would move it to at least 6 o'clock for the convenience of the people that are going to be affected. Thank you.
So, yeah, nothing for, my recommendation now would be if the board can, agree to a time, at today's hearing, so that notices, if required to do so, can go out, so that individuals who are here have the benefit of knowing. My recommendation, if the board can decide on a time to do a continuance, you have the applicant's request, on the 14th. The board can do the 14th, it makes it a long night, with the regular meeting. So that was our suggestion, to do it the day prior. But
Okay, so board, before we decide on that, anybody have comments on the hearing tonight before we close the record?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Ms. Canadian, Linda, why do you guys have to turn this around that we're conniving and doing this? We're not. You guys put such dissension in this Facebook, it's a waste of time. If we would have made a mistake on a date, it would be all over Facebook and you'd be chastising us. It just never stops with you guys. So why are we having the hearing? We'd be accused again of locking you up if we didn't have it, if we just canceled it. We're as Heather said, explained it pretty well. This is the owner's request. It's not, we're not wanting to do this. And I heard, I want to say this.
no, but just, it's their request. You have to consider whether or not it makes sense. Not that you don't want to do it, you have to.
I'm not saying one way or the other whether I want it or I not want it. But I've heard you people, and I don't mean to say it like that, the residents say traffic. You're gonna have the traffic. You see the zoning, it's R2. If I owned that piece of property and I wanted to put houses in there, I would maximize it. That's how you get your return back. That means your trees are gone, whether it's commercial or housing. It's going to get developed by somebody. The entrance, I don't know if there's another access to a public road. I believe that's the only one. If the state approves it, it's going to be there. I mean, if there's a housing plan, it's still going to be your concerns. Just take that in mind with it. I mean, this is stuff we have to weigh also. And this is just what we're going through, to hearing your comments, but from a housing plan to commercial, it's not gonna change traffic. That's all I have to say.
Okay, anybody else?
I would like to say something.
My name's Betsy Shadle, 6276 Brownsville Road Extension. You say you work for us, but I'm not sure, Mr. Lawson?
Yes.
You have concerns. You don't live there. You don't live by where we are. I've lived there for 31 years. I'm sure that other people have lived there longer, shorter. I'm not sure. This man that's coming in, he's new to the area. You're working for us, but then you say things to them about why are you doing this and why are you doing that. It's where we live. It's when you want to open your windows and all you hear are backup beepers and trucks and you smell exhaust. That's no way to have to live in a place where you've been for a long time. So, if you wonder why we're upset, imagine it happening in your area. I would like to tape it and come and play it on a ground where all of you live so that you can hear what it's like. Because it's really, really irritating. And if you can't get why we don't want it in our area, then I feel bad for you guys because you must not like quiet and peace and things like that. So if you work for us, please work for us, not for this guy that's just coming in. And if he wanted to get a piece of property where he could do a business, why didn't he why didn't he get it where it was zoned correctly for him in the first place? Why come in and change it and want to disrupt all of the residents in the area? It's really frustrating. It really is.
I want to respond to that. I wasn't referring.
It's not a question and answer. You already said it. It's not a question and answer.
I would hold your comment till the applicants testified, anyone else testified, and at the end, if you want to, at the end of the hearing. That would be my recommendation.
Thank you.
I can't address what the lady just said. About an inconvenience,
Again,
tell me about it.
it's for the board to receive comments, they're asking that you consider that.
Yes, I will consider
And
that.
before you vote, you know, if you need to make a comment or address something, you can, but at this time, you still have to give the applicant a chance to complete their record, and anyone else that has additional questions or testimony, good, bad, or indifferent, at that time, I would recommend you wait for that.
Okay, anybody else before we close? Alrighty, moving on to item 5, approve, deny, rescheduling the Q&A property LLC rezoning hearing for Tuesday, July 13th, 2021 at 5:30 p.m. Everybody okay with that, or would you like to move it to 6?
I think 6 would be.
Yeah, move for 6.
I think 6
Excuse me.
that would help the people that
Ladies,
work.
can you hold your conversation, please?
That way we'll get it complete, more people that might be interested, just can't make it.
Okay, so then I'll make a motion to approve rescheduling Q&A property LLC rezoning hearing for Tuesday, July 13th, 2021 at 6 p.m.
To schedule the continued hearing.
Okay, to reschedule the,
To schedule, we're not rescheduling it, we're scheduling a continued hearing per the request of the applicant for July 13th, 2021 at 6 p.m.
okay, so I'll rescind that motion that I just messed up. And I'm gonna redo this. I would like to make a motion to, schedule the Q&A property rezoning request, continued requested hearing for Tuesday, July 13th, 2021 at 6 p.m. And again, this was by the request of the applicant from the letter dated
June 8th, 2021.
June 8th, 2021.
Your motion?
Yes.
I'll second that motion.
Ms. Dare,
Yes.
Mr. Trax?
Yes.
Mr. Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Brannick?
Yes.
Mr. Eskin?
Yes.
Okay, any more public comments? You have something?
No, I will just be requesting the transcript, if you can get that to us, we can provide that to the applicant. The hearing's on, as you heard, it's July 13th, so at least we'll be prior if possible. Thank you.
Okay, Michael, do you have anything else to say?
Nothing further.
One question back here.
I have one question.
Yes.
Just a quick question, Brian Walney, 6249 Brownsville Road Extension. How many times could the applicant request a continuance? Is there a number, or is it unlimited?
I'm not aware of a number, however, that would be up to the discretion of the board. Asking, the first hearing was continued specifically based on the testimony of the engineer and the zoning officer that there are activities up there and they need to look into it.
Okay.
In the testimony today that they have not received that, also confirmed by that letter, so that continued request, is reasonable. The next one, again, depending on what comes up, if there's other information, it's hard to say, but,
Okay.
it's gonna
So
be
there's
kind of
not a
based
real
off of-
answer?
no, there's not an answer right now, but it would be discretionary, and it would have to be reasonable.
All right, thank you.
Okay, anybody else?
Bernie Spear, 5106 Chevy Chase Drive. I just heard Mr. Crooney ask for a copy of the transcript a week before the next hearing, but a week prior to this, they got information and felt that they didn't have enough time to review the information, so this is continued. If you only give them a copy of that transcript 1 week before the next hearing, then again, they could say they didn't have enough time to review it, they needed some answers. Can't they get this information sooner so that there's not another continuance?
As soon as I receive it, I'll provide it,
But you just asked for it for at least a week before. Can't she provide it prior to a week before? It's a month.
Your question,
It's a month until the rescheduled hearing, so you just asked for it for a week before. That then allows him the excuse of not being able to review the information. you know, I would think she could get it to you sooner so that you can get it to him sooner, so there's not another continuance.
Thank you. Okay, if there's no other public comments, we'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Chuck second.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Estes?
Yes.
Mr. Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Track?
Yes.
Mr. Brannitt?
Yes.
That's all, folks.